Okay, we're still in Chapter 7, examining the area, the legend, map unit, and data map unit. And we're now talking within the data map unit object. We're looking solely at the horizon information, trying to give you some pointers on the horizon data. And I just got done covering the use of phases and where you put phases to be able to identify multiple same named components within a particular data map unit. One of the things that I didn't show earlier that I'm going to digress a little bit to talk about is this feature series selection. And what this is used for, it allows you to populate a particular series and find that series by name. And then using the taxonomy information from the soil classification, you can then populate all the classification information in the component table. So that's the reason why that's used. I'm going to cancel out of here and we're going to continue on with our horizon. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bring the designation on over. I'm going to get rid of the sequence. Remember, sequence number has no use really other than to override the default sort sequence in the table. And the default sort sequence in this table is the top depth. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to freeze these columns. So now I can look at the designations and I can look at the depths and see basically where I'm at in the soil. Now we've got the total fragment volume, and typically and historically the information that was contained in the horizon table has always been information by weight. And when you look at the fragments, the horizon fragment table was by volume. And one of the things that we wanted the ability to do was to be able to identify in that particular horizon what is the total fragment volume within that horizon. And so that's the reason why the total fragment volume is available in this field, in this table, whereas it was typically historically a weight field. So you look at all the different fragment volumes that you've populated in the horizon fragment table, and then you basically calculate the representative value based off of the RV sum in that particular table. So that's the reason why total fragment volume is in the horizon table. Now you move on to the weights, and you've got the rock greater than 10, the rock 3 to 10, and these are in inches, by the way. And then you have the sieves, and you've got the number 4, the number 10, the number 40, and the number 200. And all of these are by weight. And so you basically sieve everything out, identify the weight, and then populate that. And there's some more specifics as far as by which particular weight class, which class of fragments you're doing it. You can look in the handbook and look at that. Then you got your total sand and your sand breakdown. These are fields that should be populated based off the lab data that you've recorded. And please don't use a calculation unless you review it closely and find that it does fit the needs for your particular soils. And here are the silts, and you can notice that we've got total silt, coarse silt, and fine silts. And then we've got the total clay content and then the calcium carbonate clays. For those soils that are high in mica content, we've included the mica itself. And then the organic matter information. There are certain rules on organic matter that you need to follow, what would be populated as far as organic matter and particle size distribution values. So look at that also. Then in your histosols, you've got your rubbed fiber and your unrubbed fiber. And then you've got your bulk densities. Please pay attention to your bulk densities. Make sure these bulk densities are populated correctly and as close as possible to what you have for actual lab data. Bulk density is an important feature in the soil. That's one of the Super 7 that you need to make sure are always populated properly. Your KSAT values, we've had a lot of controversy over probability and KSAT over the years. just be aware that you've got class of information for KSAP. If you're using a MUSA meter, be very careful about the way you populate your data to make sure that it basically check with your regional offices and look at their guides that they want to be used for KSATs. Your available water capacity, remember this is your WRD that's been manipulated for salts and gravels within the soil. Make sure you, if you don't know how to do this, you need to read up on it and verify the numbers that are available. We've had certain customers in the recent past who've been concerned about the values that we've been populating here and asking whether they can depend on these values or not. Your 1/10 bar of water, your 1/3 bar of water, your 15 bar of water, and your saturated, satiated waters. You can tell that some of these were calculated, some of these were taken off of the lab data and manually populated. Then you got your your linear extensive percentage for identifying your coal, for identifying your shrink swell, pardon me, of the soil. Your liquid limits, your PIs, and then your AASHTO group index. And then your K factors, and then your calcium carbonate. And then we move into all of our chemical chemical properties of the soil. And so then we end up with all of our phosphorus data. So you can see that there's quite a bit of soil properties that we've been asked to provide. And you have to basically take a look at the lab data, analyze your lab data, and if you don't have lab data, look at your similar soils and in the same area, and then populate based off of that. Now, looking at the child tables, there's not quite as many child tables for the horizon as there was, but notice that you've got a group, and once again, your texture group means that you've got another table or tables below that are used to populate the texture group. Surface horizons should only have one texture in that particular component. However, the underlying soils, underlying horizons can have multiple textures. Just make sure that your properties are widened to be able to include those different textures. You also have the structure group table. That is also a table that requires population of child tables to be able to identify what is that structure. And of course, if you have a parting structure, then you got a one-to-many relationship that has to be dealt with. Then you've got the textures, AASHTO and unified, that need to be populated. And then also your consistency, your pores, other fields that are typically used in your PET-ON fields, and there are now over here in the aggregated. Running real quickly at the texture, you'll notice that there are two different tables here, and I'm going to expand this out just a little bit. And you'll see here that we've got the group, we've got the horizon texture, and you'll notice that this and the modifier, you'll notice that the modifier you just can't read it. And one of the features that we've got is that you can click on this magnifying glass. It promotes the table up so that you can spend more time reviewing or expanding the tables. And so if you had a texture silt loam and you had a modifier of gravelly, and you'd have the gravelly, the silt loam, and then you would calculate the gravelly silt loam. This one doesn't have any gravel, but it is a silt loam soil. So you can see how that's used. Now if you want to click out of this, promote, you just click the X, and it takes you back to your normal screen view. So that gives you a good handle on how that works. So you can see that there are several different fields that need to be populated in both the component table and in the horizon table. It's not that big of an issue. You got lab data. All you got to do is take a look at that lab data analyze that lab data, and then come in here and populate it to fit the way you want that method to be displayed to the public. And as always, run your interpretations on this to verify that what you've populated fits your prediction of the behavior of that particular soil. So I hope that gives you a good rundown on the area, the legend, the map unit, and the data map unit. If not, you know you can always call me. You can always send me an IM and ask me questions. But for the most part, the rules on populating this component and horizon are in National Soils Handbook 618. So take a look there. If you don't understand what a particular field is, make sure you do the right click in the view information. As always, stay on with these videos and continue on to Chapter 8 next.